Hi, this is Zena Harris.
And I'm Mark Rabin.
Welcome to the tie-in.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the tie-in. Today, we're speaking with Andy Johnston. He's a New Zealand-based zoologist and is committed to connecting people to nature while advocating for wildlife conservation. As a visitor ranger educator at Wellington Zoo, he specializes in visitor experience, science communication, and animal welfare. Welcome, Andy. Maybe to start, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and, what inspires you and how you're working on science communication.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Thanks so much for having me on and kia ora. So I'm from Aotearoa, New Zealand. So I reckon one of the most beautiful countries down in the hidden in the corner of the map. And I'm a zoologist. I absolutely love wildlife, huge advocate for wildlife. A day job, I work in our capital's zoo as an educator, which is such a brilliant job to be able to connect people with nature and with wildlife and with conservation. And I also run a few different online pages, Andy Johnston Wildlife, where I sort of go under a bit of a name of creature teacher, connecting people and teaching people about wildlife mostly the amazing wildlife that we have here in Aotearoa. It's very unique, quite alien as well.
Mm.
Lots of flightless birds, not so
Mm.
many mammals. So very cool stuff here. And I absolutely love it. I think it's a fantastic job.
Amazing, amazing. Well, it's very cool to meet you.
Mm.
Um,
Awesome to meet you guys too.
yeah. No, I'm just curious because we do not get to talk to a lot of zoologists, so I'm just curious from your perspective. I mean, you're working with animals, you're working with people. Like, where do you start to integrate these conversations of climate change and impacts that we're having on the world, and then what that means for animals, and then maybe ultimately people. How does that work?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. It's a huge topic, and it can be
Yeah.
quite daunting. Trying to connect a few people to such a huge issue. We can start with our individual impacts and then kind of work out from there. Quite a nice messaging and things you can do is just look after your local environment and your local community and your local impact. We often express ideas around sustainably buying things like FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council. They've
Hmm.
got a great system where their logo is a lot on a lot of paper and cardboard and wood products, and they come from sustainably managed forests, because a
Hmm.
huge issue is deforestation, habitat loss, habitat fragmentation. You isolate these pockets of genetics, and then the whole species isn't doing as well. So if we look after the environment in those ways, that's a really great way to do it. You can inspire a lot of conservation work in your local areas as well. New Zealand, and being a New Zealander, we're quite integrated into our country, I feel, and we have a bit of a rep of being a clean, green country, and that's sort of part of our personality. And there's a lot of great organizations you can get people involved with. So here in New Zealand and Wellington, I've been lucky enough to help out with a few great organizations, places like Zealandia to Eco Sanctuary here in Wellington, World Wildlife Fund New Zealand. They do amazing work looking after a lot of advocacy around our waterways and our oceans and our moana. And also a fantastic organization called Predator Free New Zealand, because Predator Free is this idea that in New Zealand we have hardly any mammals, no sort of big mammals. We have some bats and a bunch of seals and whales and things like that. But a lot of the issues that are faced here in New Zealand are to do with introduced pests, things like rats and
Mm.
stoats and mice. So they do fantastic work to eliminate those threats and eliminate those pests here in New Zealand. And they're trying to get rid of all pests by 2050. So you can get people, and you can encourage people to get involved with that, even just at a very base level. Do some trapping work or even in their backyard, and then you kind of build out from there. But I feel the basis and the first thing is just connect people to nature and get them excited by it and get them passionate about it, which I don't think is such a difficult thing to do. I mean, who doesn't love wildlife? Who doesn't love animals? Who doesn't love doing their part to help the planet? You know?
And the data's out that forest bathing, or whatever you want to call it, getting out in nature, is actually healing, right? It actually can help you heal or be healthy.
Absolutely, yeah. If I don't get out in nature on my weekends, then my weeks were ruined. You gotta get out there. You gotta see it. Yeah.
Right. Talking to trees, feeling the energy.
Yeah.
The animals.
I mean, it's real. Yeah.
Just gonna say that New Zealand is amazing for that. This weekend, I'm going to be going out into the bush, as you call it. We have this amazing network of huts here in New Zealand. We can go and spend a night out in the bush, and I'm so excited for it. So.
That's super cool. So tell us a little bit about your work at the zoo. Like, I'm sure you're, in that you're interacting with all types of people and whatnot. What does it look like when you're, trying to think about messaging and communication and visitor experience? Like, I would love to learn some tips on how to engage people.
Yeah,
of course. It's a mixed bag, of course, because maybe you're doing a talk about these animals or a close encounter with some sort of health training, and you might be talking to someone who's 5-year-old, you might be talking to a 95-year-old, and so you have to sort of create your messaging in such a way that it can impact all those different people. I sort of go by an idea that it's kind of three things you're trying to hit. You're trying to entertain, educate, and advocate. Kind of the three main points I'm trying to get whenever I'm doing anything like that. And if you're hitting any of those 3 points, if you hit all 3 points, amazing. That's a fantastic job. Well done. But even if you're just hitting one of those points, you're also doing a good job. Because even if it's just entertaining, getting people excited and happy, perfect. Educating, amazing. And advocating, obviously, that might be the best thing. If someone can take away a message or take away something they can do, then that, I think you've really won. I think having a really good basis on the animal, and I've been working in this kind of area for 2 years professionally, and then quite a bit longer on my own channel, on my own pages. And then I took a few science communication classes in university as well. And a really helpful thing is to create a story and create a narrative, which I'm sure you guys are very aware of, and is a big part of what you guys do as well. But if you can connect someone to a story or an idea rather than just facts, then you've won people over a lot easier, and people are able to retain the information so much easier as well.
And willing to engage, right? Yeah, I think the hardest part is people are feeling pretty overwhelmed right now, generally speaking, right? About the day-to-day, surviving, putting food on the table, that sometimes thinking about nature, climate, animals, everybody feels it, but it's like, how are you addressing those? Yeah, like that feeling of just like, oh, I can't make a difference. Because we see that a lot right now in the conversations. Are you guiding folks through that conversation? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of doom and gloom around a lot of the issues, and it's a double-edged sword in that humans are the issue with a lot of these problems, obviously.
Certainly
but we're also the solution, and we have to be the solution. So it's about not losing hope in that area. And when you end up working like myself in these with these organizations that are championing conservation or animal welfare, you see both sides, because you see, all the negativity and all the hardship, but also you see all these amazing people that are so passionate about all this work, and they're putting on all this amazing effort. Here in Aotearoa, you'd call it the mahi. So you put in the work, the mahi, and you end up getting really inspired by that, and it makes you really hopeful. So I think just knowing that there is a lot of issues, but there is a lot of really good people doing a lot of amazing work, and that's very inspiring.
Yeah, and also I think from a communications perspective, finding those little nuggets to engage with folks versus trying to be like, oh, like it's just like it's too like climate change is such a big concept, right? Or extinction is such a big thing when we talk about wildlife, right? It's like how are you breaking it down to like these sort of like relatable, manageable, bite-sized comms
Yeah,
hooks?
you are. Yes, you're sort of breaking it down. So, what small impact can I take away when I leave this area? Can I change maybe one small aspect of my eating style? Can I go maybe a
Yeah.
little bit less meat? It doesn't have to be, oh, suddenly I'm now vegan. It can just be maybe a slight reduction, and anything can help. It's maybe, do I need to drive to work every day, or maybe am I in the position to be able to bus, or in the position to be able to bike, or can I make sure that when I'm buying products, I'm looking to see if it has impacts on palm oil, and all these things, they're once you start listing them off, suddenly they become more and more stressful. Oh, do I have to do all these things? And you don't have to do all of them. That you just take some that are appropriate to your lifestyle and integrate them. And figure out what works for you. And everyone's doing their little part, then that's very helpful. And I think the other idea is that knowing that you're doing your work, that's fantastic. But also there are a lot of big impacts coming from the government level, from big corporation level, that you can advocate for by voting and by putting out your voice in that way. And that's going to have a really big impact as well. So speaking, with your vote, that's a very important thing to do as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm just curious what you've observed in the case of sort of experiential learning, like the experience side of things. We've interviewed a few folks where, you know, content creation was really taking a new twist because they were focused on how to provide experiences for people, how to immerse them in, this interesting world or tech, that sort of thing. So I'm just curious from your perspective, how are you seeing that play out in the work that you do?
Well, wildlife, you often think of it as somewhere far away. It's off in the distance. It's in some sort of rainforest somewhere else, or it's in some sort of place you need to be able to get to. But wildlife, especially here on Aotearoa, is right in your backyard. It's right there. It's on your footsteps. So just having that experience of getting out there and seeing it is really important.
Mm-hmm.
When you're at a place like you're working at the zoo, you've got a lot of experience. You can do a lot of hands-on work. You can do some very physical engagement with a lot of the tamariki, the kids, and things like that. You can do puzzles. You can run activities. You can get them excited by maybe having the opportunity to do some health training or some feeding with the animals and experiencing how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do get that opportunity and you get to see these kids absolutely just, the eyes just light up and they just get so excited, and you really start to see the connection happening. And that's a beautiful thing. But I agree. I think you having that physical experience is really important. Being able to connect to it. I think in the online scene, you were kind of talking about content creation and things as well. I know with my content, it's really sort of taken off a bit more once I've been able to get people to connect with it in a way that they'll know what they're experiencing and what they're going to come back to. I've started doing this series called the Creature Teacher, where people can come and where I advocate and teach people about animals. And I really owe that to my partner. She with the more popularizing of the George Michael song Father Figure. There's a little line where it says like, I would be your preacher teacher or something.
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
came up like, you can switch around the words and you make a creature teacher. And once I've done that, then people can connect you to it. And then people really enjoy that kind of experience as well. They know what they're going to get, and then come see the video, come see me, and learn a bit about the animal. And that's a really fun thing to do as well.
Yeah.
Maybe tell us a little bit about what you're doing online then in your Instagram and channels, or whatever channels. What does that look like?
Every video I do, I'm sort of highlighting a different species, mostly here in New Zealand, because we've got such amazing animals here, and really breaking down some fun facts about them, their conservation level. Are they endangered? Are they not? where you might be able to see them, how you might be able to help them. And people have really been enjoying that, because I think there's been a slight sort of gap in the online space where people are really excited to show off a lot of wildlife, maybe through photography or video work. People are really excited to show off some experiences, like going on hikes and be able to see amazing places. But not so many people are just sitting down and saying, here's some cool facts about this animal, or especially not in New Zealand. Not so many people are doing that. So it was cool to find that niche and work in it. And there are a lot of other amazing creators in New Zealand as well that are sort of focusing on plants or on adventure or on hiking and things. But I found a little bit of a niche around animals, and that has been great.
Mm-hmm.
And people are engaging with you globally?
Yes, yeah. Got a few people from your neck of the woods as well, from the States and Canada and things. Getting really excited by it. A lot of people in Australia. A lot of people saying they want to come to New Zealand and see all this amazing stuff. That lovely guy in the States who also does wildlife work, and he wants to make videos with me, and I think that'd be fantastic as well. So yeah.
Yeah, what a great platform to, like reach the masses, right? I mean, like Mark and I say, like we we struggle with social media because we're just kind of like, right before it like really took off, we're kind of, more on just our age, like not so native to it. And so it's really cool to hear like how folks are using it for, as you said, like education purposes and like interesting, nuggets to put forth. So, I'm always interested in like, what's the platform that you're using? How are you using it?
Yeah.
Because we don't know, we need help.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a forest out there you gotta navigate through. Personally, I'm mostly on TikTok and Instagram. And even those two platforms are so different. TikTok is far more personable, quick pace. There's a trend happening one week, and it's gone the next. And if you haven't jumped on it, then it's too late. So I often find that I don't really jump on a lot of trends because that's too quick a pace for me. And then Instagram, I find, is a bit more forgiving in that it's, if you have a few more different kinds of content that can really work, you have lovely posts and things, your physical just carousels, and then your video work, and people can get really more into the nitty gritty. I feel on Instagram as well. You can get more educational and kind of sit down with people and really talk about it. Whereas TikTok, being more personable, you can sometimes create a bit more of a community and sort of back and forth conversation. Everything's so different. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, like, with this work that you're doing, both online and in person, like where do you see the crossover with like entertainment broadly speaking? I mean, we're engaged in lots of different types of entertainment, sort of on the live events and physical production for film and TV and like these kinds of things. And I'm just curious, like pie in the sky, where does this cross over? What would be really cool? What can we imagine that would be awesome for this crossover?
Yeah, there is obviously going to be a lot of crossover, a lot of amazing work between sort of conservation work and media. I recently just went and watched David Attenborough's Oceans. And cried for about a week about how beautiful it was. It's absolutely incredible documentary, and he's so loving and amazing, and he's so old now. He was sort of hinting that this might be the last kind of big documentary he's making. That was sad in itself, and then obviously to see all the imagery and the story and everything that he was showing there. So there's a lot of media like that. There's a lot of documentaries and getting people educated there. But I feel like there's a lot of connection that social media can do with your kind of local organizations and getting people excited kind of locally. I've been reached out by a few organizations, kind of the ones I mentioned earlier, like WWF New Zealand and Forest and Bird, about making really short series to get people excited about that kind of work, and then can get involved there as well. I'm still kind of at the very beginning of my journey with it as well. How to make kind of social media and kind of pivot it towards getting more conservation action as well.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any advice too, I'm always
We
unlimited.
we're working with each other to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
I sense in your future like maybe a series, right, or some sort of
I
like
know. That's what I was
moving
thinking
to.
too.
It could even be like an online, but just like we still we love those voices out there, getting out there and actually doing it at a production level and getting it out
Yeah.
globally, and you never know where that can go.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, if money was ever an option, I did my master's thesis on this amazing little animal called the weta, which you guys might not be aware of, but it's this very large cricket, basically, and they're all over New Zealand, and they're so charismatically ugly. These little ugly little things, and there's so many different species. There's about 100 different species. With the biggest, there's 11 giant weta that can kind of fit in the palm of your hands, about the size of a mouse or a sparrow, about 70 grams, this huge thing. And there's so many different kinds. There's cave weta and tree weta and ground weta.
I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Yeah, bring it up. It's this iconic photo of one online eating a carrot that's so massive. And I would love to do some sort of series going around and seeing all different 100 species of weta and getting people excited about such an ugly little amazing animal, because often I feel we're so drawn towards the charismatic, even in overseas, there's always amazing charismatic big megafauna. And even here in New Zealand, people are kind of drawn towards whatever the fluffiest, cutest animal is. But even those little ugly things, they're amazing. They're such an important part of the ecosystem and such an important part of our world. Getting people excited by that would be awesome. Here you go. Yeah, there you go.
Oh my gosh!
So I did my thesis.
Oh, that's
on
kind of scary.
Oh,
it
God,
can be,
look at that.
Little armored tanks.
Oh my gosh. That's like the ugly animal series.
Yeah.
No, there it is.
There's that wide photo. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that would be one of the 11 giant weta species. And I did my master's thesis on this particular one called the Mahonui giant weta, and it has this incredible conservation story where it nearly became absolutely wiped out by introduced predators. But what it ended up doing was living inside a gorse bush. And the gorse bush is this bush with lots of spines and pricks, and it's a very sharp kind of bush. And it's living in there, and that's creating a natural barrier against rats and against stoats, so it can't get in there and can't eat the weta. So it's in this one little scientific reserve, where it's the only scientific reserve in New Zealand where this invasive gorse bush is protected, and goats are permitted to help protect the gorse. So it's completely counter to any other kind of conservation work done in New Zealand, where everything else is has to be native bush and being cared for. This one little weta is hiding in this introduced spiky bush. And so I did a lot of work on where they're living over the last 12 years and how trapping for introduced predators can help protect them. But I just absolutely fell in love with them. So doing some sort of series on the ugly and gross but so important species would be very cool. I agree.
Yeah,
that's fun. I love it.
That's so fun. That's so fun. Well, we're curious, because your work just sounds so interesting, and your engagement with people and engagement online in various ways, and the things that you're thinking about. So if you were to create a playbook for the work that you do, what would be like one or two guiding principles that you would want to put in that playbook?
I think the main thing that I'm trying to focus on in a guidebook would just be to make it fun and entertaining, and show off. I have a lot of passion for this work, and just kind of showing off that as much passion as I possibly can.
Yeah,
is such an important thing, and just kind of spread that positivity. So kind of what I was saying before, I think trying to make it entertaining, educating, and advocating is really
I love that.
The guiding principles that I would always try and focus on, and kind of leveraging whatever technology or whatever platforms you have at your disposal. a lot of the sort of opportunities, even be able to come on your guys' amazing podcast, is come from me just picking up the camera and going, well, I love this wildlife, I love this nature. Let's just talk about online, see, and sort of build a bit of a community about other people who also love it. And now I'm starting to get connected with all these other amazing people. So I think, just show off whatever passion you have and use whatever resource you have, even if it's just small. And it'll build from there if you're passionate about it, and you see so many amazing success stories in that realm, and hopefully we can all get there as well.
Totally.
And help tell those stories, right, to get us reconnected with digestible, entertaining information. Like that makes so much sense to me, especially in a world right now where the news cycle is just like just rip your hair out. It's like I try to follow only positive things on Instagram. You know what I mean? It's like get off the not positive ones and then just follow the positive ones.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I think we need an ugly animal series to follow.
I think cool. You've already got the name. You've already got the name, right? That's half the battle.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Started before this podcast gets released, or else someone will snatch it up.
Look, an 8-part series. Goes viral
because
you got this.
We need something else to think about.
Exactly. You guys have any favorites wildlife animals, anything in your neck of the woods, anything over there that you guys are particularly fond of?
Big ones. We got the big animals, right?
Big
animals.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like here, I mean, I'm in Vancouver, literally, I mean, in the city, there's wild raccoons, crows, seagulls, like that kind of thing. But the second you go out, I mean, there's deer, and then they've got moose and bears, and I don't know, just big stuff, salmon, fish, lots of fish. And, I last couple weeks ago, I camped next to this pristine, it's a BC camping site, the province runs it, but it was on this beautiful indigenous land. And in the morning there was just a bald eagle that was just diving down and fishing, just beautiful loons and a little bit of mist, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I was just in awe of this bald eagle just diving down and fishing. And this is just that awe, just getting out into nature. And easier said than done, right? I mean, most people live in crazy urban environments and their feet never touch the ground or the soil. And
it is a privilege as well, to have access to these places, or to be able to take the time to get there and get there back. So acknowledging that is really important. And it can be done in so many different ways. Like yourself, you might have the opportunity to go out to see these amazing things, and someone else might be able to go to the local park. And both of those things are such a beautiful way to connect to nature at any level. I think it's so important. Yeah,
totally.
And Andy, I have a kind of question, because I think a lot about it as well. And I've heard you refer to many, I believe they're Maori words. How important is it to have that sort of connection with the indigenous peoples and stewards of the land? And obviously New Zealand is a really unique place, right? To have that relationship with the indigenous peoples. Have you done work on that? And because I think it's a really important point to discuss.
It is very important. So I'm Pakeha, so I'm not Maori, or I'm not from Maori descent. I might be what you call tangata te tiriti, which is people of the treaty. So there is a treaty, the Treaty of Waitangi, or Te Tiriti o Waitangi. It was kind of one of our founding documents here in Aotearoa. So you can be Te Tiriti o Waitangi. You can be tangata te tiriti or tangata whenua, which is people of the land. So that's someone who's is Māori. And I think in our generation, or at least in this, maybe more recently, there's been such an amazing push forward to have that connection, have that representation of Indigenous and Māori knowledge when it comes to conservation work in particular, and when it comes to just cultural work within Aotearoa. And Aotearoa, so that's the Māori name of the Te Reo. So Te Reo is the language of Māori, so Te Reo Māori. And Aotearoa kind of translates to the land of the long white cloud, because as we're coming here, there's a beautiful big white cloud across the land. And there's been a big push about having that Indigenous knowledge. And within my sector, within conservation, we work. There's a lot of fantastic work to works alongside iwi, so tribe or local tribes, local organizations, when it comes to the conservation of those species, because they have so much more understanding of their living with those species, living there for a long time, and having sort of more intricate, in-depth, and important knowledge on those species. And so, there's a big push for it, and there has been a big push for a while, because there was such a disconnect not too long ago, and it still is a disconnect in places as well. But there's a very big important connection there for sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure there might be something similar over in the States as well.
I mean,
Canada,
in different it depends on where you are. In British Columbia, it's very strong in different areas, but it's definitely it's definitely coming more and more. And I think we're starting to see the merging of modern science and modern tech and Indigenous knowledge, right? So like that's a huge place, field of study and opportunities, like incredible opportunities, right? Because a lot of the things that we're seeing that were a part of Indigenous knowledge are now becoming reality, right? We're like, they're because they were observing time differently, right? We got swept up by the machine 300 years ago in the Anthropocene, and now we're kind of coming out of that to come to our senses, I think, in some ways. I hope. I don't know. Anyway.
Finally, you gotta use using all the efforts and all of the knowledge and all of the passion that we can to solve such a big issue. As I think has been the theme of this conversation, is that it's such a huge issue out there. So everyone willing to provide their knowledge and provide their expertise is going to be crucial.
Awesome.
Wow.
And, I like to quickly bring up, just because it's such a topical thing, and it's sort of been connected a little bit about what we've been saying. Have you guys seen that the company Colossal is hoping to bring back the moa? Have you guys seen that?
The woolly mammoth?
So the same company that's trying to bring back the woolly mammoth and did the whole dire wolf.
Right.
They've just announced they want to bring back the moa, which is this huge, giant 12-foot bird that used to be here in Aotearoa, and it's this massive, sort of like an emu in a way, but just much bigger. And there's been lots of conservation, lots of work, conversation about them wanting to bring back the moa and doing some genetic work. And I think it's quite exciting, quite a lot of exciting scientific work. It's kind of scary, this de-extinction work. And I've been trying to wrap my head around it, because I think a lot of people are either super excited about it or kind of wary, and very much appropriately so. And I was fortunate enough that in my university, one of my lecturers was one of the leading scientists, one of the leading voices in de-extinction, and kind of figuring out the positives and the negatives around it, which was such an amazing opportunity to be taught by this guy. And I think what I've kind of come down to on this moa work and the dire wolf work is that bringing back the moa, dire wolf, the woolly mammoth is probably going to be the least exciting thing that this company does. But all the scientific breakthrough and conservation work that will come from this is going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
So I think these animals, they're genetic hybrids. They're sort of proxy species for what they're trying to bring back. And will never really be able to be introduced back into the environment. New Zealand has a pretty interesting relationship and history with introduced animals that never quite worked out here in the country. And so I think all that work is exciting. And you hear a lot of people say, maybe all this money could go towards other conservation work instead.
Right. Yeah.
And that's correct. But I don't think anything else would drum up this amount of money. No one's going to be spending this much money on something that isn't as exciting. So that's exciting work. But
what can go wrong?
What can go wrong?
I don't know. Perfect. I mean, I feel like you just described a movie right there.
Start
writing the script. And
no, brand new series. The new Jurassic World's coming out. Right. But I think bringing back all these animals will be the least exciting thing that this company does. I think hopefully they're going to bring some really cool scientific work, bridging that gap between science and conservation in a new, interesting way, which I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what might happen there.
Yeah,
I love it, Andy. This has been a pleasure chatting with you. Where can our listeners find you again? Just maybe to tell us your Instagram, TikTok channels, and how they can get in touch with you.
So I'm on Instagram and on TikTok, and that's under andyjohnston.wildlife.
Got it.
All right. All right. And stay tuned for a conservation series coming up.
Yeah. I'll make sure to tag you guys when I start talking about all the ugly animals.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you, Andy. I really, really appreciate this conversation.
Yeah, and thank you guys. It was such a lovely conversation. So nice to be able to do that with you guys. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, stretch the brain a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Well.
It's a beautiful 6 a.m. on a Saturday here in New Zealand. So it's been a good way to wake up.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Of course. Anytime.
Our designer is Aaliyah Kane. Music is by Peter Chapman. Social media is by Picnic Social. Our producer is Colin Miller.